This is the IC Pixels podcast with David and Anthony Cavins. We're going to talk about design in everyday situations.
Welcome back to another episode of the IC Pixels podcast. This is David.
And this is Anthony.
All right, we're back. I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving holiday at the time. They got to spend with their family and eating food and watching football teams or whatever else you're supposed to do on Thanksgiving. So,
Thai food, I think.
Oh, you're supposed to go to a carry-out place and get some Thai food.
That's what I did.
That's part of your family tradition of Thanksgiving.
Just this year. I mean, because I just got back from a cruise and I was literally driving all day and then got back and was like, I had a thing set up where I could have gone to somebody's house, but I was like, nah, I don't. So we just went to our favorite Thai restaurant and copped them curry and rice stuff, and that was delicious.
That's what's important, because I've definitely been to some Thanksgivings where it was a lot of family and all that stuff. It was great, but the food was not that great. So,
yeah. What'd y'all do this year?
We just stayed here, and my wife's mother and sister came over, and so it wasn't a big gathering, but it was good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we sat around and watched. What is it called?
Football?
No. We watch cooking shows. We've been watching this show called America's Worst Cooks. It's pretty interesting. But
I've heard about that one. I never watched it. I'm always watching, well, not always. We watch Chopped, and then my kids liked that kids cooking show. I don't know the name of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we finished Chopped, so. But so this week we're talking about time management.
I guess we could start by talking about why it's important. I think it's obvious from anybody's perspective. Time it's a present, like they say, it's the present, but it's also a present, so you don't want to waste it. And I know, like last week, we were talking about times when we felt like we wasted a lot of time, or we were wasting our lives away doing jobs we didn't want to do or whatever. So that's kind of part of what I guess gave us this idea for talking about time management this week. So I guess as a person who does freelance work and stuff like that, I think time management has to be really, really important, because on some level you are your own boss.
Yeah, but also being a responsible person, and having to pay bills and stuff like that, especially because I'm pretty much full-time freelance, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have this pressure of like every moment, you got to make it count, or else it's a problem. Because I know, recently, like I mentioned, I was on a cruise with my girl. Well, I guess she's my fiance now, but I was on a cruise. Yeah. I was on a cruise, and it took me like a day or two to like relax and realize I didn't have to do any work. I mean, I couldn't do any work, but it took me a while for my brain to slow down and be like, okay, no, it's okay. You don't have to do anything right now.
It'll all be there when you get back.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, ugh. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's also important. Like, I mean, in the time management, you got to make every moment count, but you also got to know how to take a break. Because, I mean, after a while, you can't just putting in hours doesn't always work, especially in a creative field. Just putting in more hours doesn't mean that you're going to be doing the best work.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually wrote a blog post on our blog at alienmuffin.com about taking a break a few weeks ago, or a month ago, it was a while ago. Either way. Because I know a couple things I was gonna say. Like, before I started really doing the freelance stuff, I I feel like I was able to relax better because like if I wasn't at work, I wasn't thinking about work. Or I might think about it a little bit, like what am I going to wear to work tomorrow, or what do I need to do tomorrow. But I wasn't thinking about it constantly like I am now because now I am my own boss, so I'm thinking about it more, and I'm constantly like reminding myself, oh, I need to do this, that, whatever. Whereas before, like if I was working for someone else, I didn't care. Like when I left work, that I left work and I wasn't thinking about it at all. And now that I kind of work for myself somewhat, I feel like I think about it more, and it's definitely something kind of almost always in the back of my head, like, oh, that would be a good idea for this, or hey, we need to do a podcast about that, or whatever. It's constantly on my mind to an extent.
Yeah.
And so, I
Yeah,
agree,
'cause
it is
sometimes
kind of hard to
it's
take a break.
work, and other times, yeah. Because sometimes it's work that you're thinking about, and other times it's just ideas for
Yeah,
new things I could do, or because it's as a when you're like in our field being creative and everything, like it's not like one of those finite things like you keep on using it and you get burned. I mean, you can get burned out, but it's like the more you expand your mind and having to create all the time, it actually becomes easier to think about new things, and the ideas and stuff are coming to you constantly.
right.
So it's like you just it never stops. Your brain just keeps on going. Every time you see something, you're trying to design something about it. You learn to look to pull inspiration from anything around you. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it makes it hard to. Well, you can still learn
Stop.
to relax and stop, but it's constantly going on, which is not necessarily a bad thing per se, in my opinion, because you could still be, kind of thinking about work, but without working. And that's what I was going to say about like kind of taking a
Yeah.
break is even in the midst of taking a break, I'm still accomplishing stuff for work. I'm not building a website, I'm not designing anything, I'm not in Photoshop or whatever, but just the fact of taking a break allows me to get new inspiration. Like because I'm away from a computer, I can't just sit on the computer and bang my head against a problem. Now I'm away from a computer, so I can maybe sketch out some ideas or just drive and think or whatever, and that allows me to come up with new ideas and create something better. Whereas if
Yeah.
you're stuck in front of the computer, it's kind of harder.
Yeah, I know sometimes for me, I'll go out and walk my dog or something like that just when I get stuck, just to, get my brain, just going in a different direction or just something. Because there's been a lot of times where I got stuck on the project and I needed to find a way. Because just sitting there and looking at it wasn't productive. Even
Yeah.
though I'm sitting there in front of the computer, I'm working, trying to design something. It may not be productive because I'm not producing anything good.
Mm.
Whereas I could walk away and have a brain fart or something like that. I mean, no, wait, no, that's the opposite. But have a brain child and like, then I have it knocked out in a few, in like an hour or something like that. After I spent like that happened. I can think of a specific time that happened to me. It's really frustrating, but you got to find a way to manage your time and like more importantly, I think is manage your energy. If you're able to do that, because a lot of people have jobs that you do your work between 8 and 5, or I don't know, 10:30 and 7 if you work third shift, unfortunately. But you have to do your work between those times. But depending on what you're doing, what your job is, and what your field is, that doesn't you may not be most effective during that whole time.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you are able to manage your energy, it's like, okay, well, I have an idea, so I'm going to sit down and knock this idea out. Then that's better than the day that you spent doing that. Because I did that like 2 weekends in a row. Actually, I did that. Like on Friday, I was struggling with something, trying to figure it out, and I decided to stop working on it. And then Sunday morning, it like hit me. Like I had after I had a day, hours of, more than 48 hours of a break. It hit me what I needed to do. I sat down and it took me like 30 minutes and I was done.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed.
After I spent all this time.
I've noticed for myself, like if I'm working on something when I'm tired, or I haven't, spent enough time planning or whatever, then a lot of times I'll start to fall into what I kind of call like design cliches. And
Mm.
so instead of doing something more creative and interesting, I'll just go for like a cliche. Like one thing I thought of that I've done too many times is like if someone needs multiple pictures on a design, a lot of times I'll do a cliche. What I consider a cliche design is like I'll arrange the pictures so they look like kind of like Polaroids that have just been thrown on a table with the white border around them. And I've
Oh.
done that several times, and it's like last time I did it, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I know this is a cliche, but like I have to get this done. That I'm dealing with a deadline situation, and I know this cliche. The customer will like it. I know they'll be happy with it, but this will never go in my portfolio, and I probably won't be happy with it. But like,
Yeah.
and that goes back to like if I had managed my time better and probably planned out and spent more time ahead. Um, Thinking things out and all that stuff, then I wouldn't have been at the last minute rushing, and I wouldn't have had to go with my my handed cliche of the Polaroid picture to just get it done. And I mean, and that goes back to like what you're saying about energy management, time management versus energy management, because I feel
Mm.
like there are times of the day that I'm probably more creative. It varies, obviously. It's not like, well, if I wake up and start designing at 11:47, I know it'll be great. But I know, by the end of the day, like if it gets late, like 11:30, you're not going to get much good out of me design wise. And so a lot of times I'll leave some of my more mundane, repetitive tasks that don't require any real thought till that time, till later in the day.
Yeah.
Like, if I gotta put some content on somebody's site or something really simple where it's literally like cut and paste or some like minor simple configuration stuff or data entry or
Mm.
whatever it is, then or sending out invoices, all those are very, very simple things. I don't have to think. I'm just like click, click, click. Then those things I try and reserve to a time where it doesn't matter if I'm creative or not.
Mm. I think I may be the opposite in some respects for that. Like sending invoices and stuff like that. I prefer to do that first thing in the morning because in the afternoon or something like that, I'm like, I do not feel like looking at a form or anything like that. And in the morning, I have like a little bit of, I may have some kind of caffeine in me. So it's like, okay, let me just knock this out really quick and I can do it. And then like late at night, usually that's when I paint or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, which uses a completely different part of my brain or I'm drawing or something like that. But it's like something I can do when I'm like not paying half, I'm like half paying attention. I'm paying attention, but not completely.
Mm-hmm.
These are a different part of my brain that I paint with and I'm doing other things with. So it kind of works. It's like I can do that while I'm like half asleep and it's fine.
Well, I think that's
It's like,
another like aspect of time management. Is kind of like dividing your tasks. Because like when you're a kid, like your parents, or at least my parents, always said to me, like,
hey, yo, son,
like yo son, why you eating your food like that, yo? But
what am I about?
um, like you get a plate of food, and let's say your favorite, like it's some fries, and those are your favorite French fries or whatever. But you also have like some corn or some asparagus or something you don't like. So I was always taught like don't just eat all your favorite stuff first and then save the worst stuff for last because then you won't want to finish it. Save some of the best, like mix it up or
Yeah,
whatever, so that you're not like there's highs and lows and it's not just like, hey, I ate all the good stuff, now I have all the bad stuff, or I ate all the bad stuff, now I only have good stuff left. So I don't know if that really made any
yeah,
sense, but what I try and do is kind of split things up so that there are things I enjoy doing design wise. So I try and like do one of those and then knock out some mundane tasks, then do something else I'm interested in, then knock out some mundane tasks because uh the mundane tasks are most of the time what gets me paid, like sending invoices and emailing
yeah.
people, replying to people's emails and stuff like that. Because there's been several times, honestly, where I was just like I was working on a project I was really interested in doing, and so I was designing stuff and just doing stuff I wanted to do, not paying attention to my emails. A couple weeks later, I look back at my emails and people are like, "Yo, you did the work for us. It's great. How can we pay you?" And I'm like not replying. So
Yeah.
I have to put that stuff in there because eventually, I design and I'm all excited, but then I don't have any money and I don't have any electricity and I can't turn on my computer. So I have to, I have to. kind of, it's not prioritizing tasks, but it's kind of just prioritizing my time and dividing my time again among what I want to do and what I have to do, because I have to make
Yeah.
money. I have to
I
pay
keep
my
thinking
bills.
of it as I keep thinking of it as like basically hopscotching through the day, like with your time. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, do these two things, and then and all the way through, but choosing your task, I don't know, wisely, like what you can know you can knock out, what you need to do here, and then because there's some mundane things I do for some websites, and it's like, yeah, I dread doing them, but usually I do those in the morning before anybody else is up, because a lot of the people I work with are in a different time zone. So I knock those out. It makes me look good because it's like, oh man, he did this at 6 o'clock. I'm like, no, I didn't. But um, but that way, I mean, when I have the most energy, I'm up, I've, did whatever, and I can just power through it really quick, and then that way it doesn't get lost in a stack of other, going back and forth and changing things on documents and all this kind of stuff that I normally do throughout the day. When I'm getting like a bunch of emails, and I'm just this little minor thing will get left in there, so it's like knowing where to put that. Like, okay, I'm going to do this now,
Right.
do this over here later, and do this here later, and whatever, and then
Well,
at night I'll find something else to do. Because I don't know. For me, relaxing doesn't mean just sitting and watching TV or something like that. I have to sit and watch TV and do something else at the same time. Or else I don't know. Or else I'll just end up on Instagram doing nonsense. So I figure I might as well do something.
what I was gonna say, like on that same topic, I sometimes do the same thing, like in terms of getting up early and trying to knock stuff out, because I have clients that I work with that they have like email diarrhea. So
Mm,
they'll say, yeah, change it to
yeah.
blue. And then 5 seconds later, I send an email. No, actually, change it to dark blue. No, change it to orange. And all these are separate emails. And then they'll send me a list of other changes and another list of changes, and another list of changes. And so when back years ago, I would actually try and respond in order, and just like as soon as I get the email, I try and act on it. But now what I do, because a lot of those customers, they're at least some of them, they're more active in the evening, because they may have a day job or whatever. It doesn't matter, but they start replying in the evening. So what I'll do a lot of times, I'll wait until it's later, like after 9 o'clock, and I'll reply to an email or whatever. I'll send them a draft of a design, and then I don't check my email for the rest of the evening, because I'm gonna go focus on something else. I might be designing something else. I might be asleep. I might be watching something on Netflix, whatever. But then I wait till the morning, and I get up. I'm starting working at least 7 or 8. So at that point, they're not responding to email. So that gives me a lot of time, and they're not sending out their blasts of email diarrhea. So I can look through all the crap they sent, figure out, like, decipher what I actually need to do, what the real list of changes is, go through, make the changes, and send them a draft. And then, sometime in mid morning, I'm going to get another barrage of changes. But then at least, like, I manage when I'm going to reply. I'm not going to reply immediately to you, because I know if I give you 15 minutes, you're going to change your mind about something.
Yeah. Well, and you got to manage your,
Availability.
you know, yeah, you have to manage your availability with people. I mean, there's some people that um they've earned more of my time, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, they paid for more of your time, or going to pay.
Yeah, they paid. Yeah, they pay for more of my time, so I give them first priority. And there's other people that haven't paid for my time, so So I mean, but you got to manage your availability anyway, because you don't want somebody to think they can reach you anytime. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can't call them anytime, probably. I mean, you should. Sometimes you need time for yourself, and I know for me to be at my best, I need to like not be bothered by people sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with
Just need
that.
some time to recharge and like do whatever else I need to do before I get back into talking to people or whatever. And I mean, you got to train people. I mean, I don't think. I mean, it sounds like it makes sound bad on some levels, but I mean, it's real. I mean, like people that have a job, you can't call them outside of their job when they go
Yeah,
home. I mean, maybe you can if it's an emergency or something like that, but I mean, it's closed. Like,
yeah.
they,
I've started to establish. Well, I started a while back, but I've established kind of a business, some sort of business hours, so that I'm not getting barrage with. Well, I still get the emails because a lot of people will still email you. I think it's one of those things where, depending on the client, I
You don't
respond
have to
differently.
respond to it though.
Like if I know you're just one of those annoying people that's gonna send me 57 emails, then not that that's annoying, but you're just like you change your mind a lot and you have a lot to say and you just didn't think it all through before you sent the email, which is fine. If I know you're like that, then I don't reply to your first email and I'll probably sit on it for a few hours before I reply to you. If you're one of those people that like hits me up like I need one thing changed and they know what they want to change and have the specifics, then I'll reply right back to you because I know I can make more progress. I feel like if you only have one thing you need changed, and you know what it is, and you send me an email, I can change that right quick. I can send that back to you, and I can be done, and I can be getting paid. The other person is going to take me a whole lot longer because they have to go through all these iterations and all their different changing of their mind. And so, that's like customer management stuff, but it ends up
sometimes
impacting my time too.
Yeah. And sometimes that's like the nature of the project. I mean, sometimes that's the person. Some people are like that. But in other times, it's just a big project that just, it's going to go on forever. And you just know that's going to happen. And I mean, for me, I know when I know it's a project like that, then it's like
We're going to add that to the cost.
These people have, they've afforded my time. And I know that there's going to be, like 10 levels of, the you make a change and then it's got to go through the 7 layers of hell before it, somebody finds a typo and then it comes back to you and you got to fix a letter and a word and that jacks up your columns. And so you got to fix your columns and then mess with it. Anyway.
Yeah. We all know how that goes.
But yeah. I mean, it's just on and on and on. But I mean, some people afford that time, and that's the nature of large projects. But I mean, when it's a small thing, sometimes, I agree. You gotta, I mean, but that's part of knowing. Once you get to know
your customers,
your client, especially if they're reoccurring, and I like reoccurring people that pay. Yeah. So, you just know how they work, and I mean, that's something that we have to learn how to do: managing time and like managing.
Well, I think that's a part of managing time as well is like, and what I've started to do more now, especially even with existing customers, is I'll spend more time emailing them and talking to them on the phone than I will in Photoshop or Dreamweaver or whatever. Dreamweaver, I don't even use that anymore, but whatever software I'm using, I'll try and spend less time on the computer and more time kind of talking to them or emailing them or chatting with them or whatever, because the more questions I can ask and get relevant answers to and all that type of stuff, the more, probing questions you're supposed to ask or whatever, that can save me a lot of time in designing stuff. Because I used to, someone would say, I want a logo and I want it to be blue and I want to say this. I'd go run the Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, whip something up and give it to them. And like maybe 50 or less percent of the time, I'd get it right the first time. But a lot of times it was a bunch of changes and stuff like that. But if I had talked to them a little bit more, maybe spent 10 minutes talking to them, I could have eliminated maybe 2 days of back and forth.
Save yourself an hour. Yeah.
So I try and do that now because it's something I got from experience. Maybe I could have learned it somewhere, but through experience, I learned it and it saves me time now. I don't always do it because some people are just difficult. Some people are just going to say, well, I'll know it when I see it. And that's when it's like, well, you're going to have to pay for that.
I haven't gotten a lot of that. But but I mean, I don't know. I guess recently, I asked the right I try to ask the right questions so that I know which way to shoot before I even pull the trigger.
Well, I think of it now. It's like building a house. You don't just start building. You got to get up some plans and all that stuff. And I know for me, sometimes it's hard to go through the planning phase because I'm like, well, I have some ideas. I want to get them on paper. And I think they're good enough that I can just get it right the first time. But I don't realize how bad their ideas are. So I have to listen.
Or they're just completely different or something. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, so I mean, I don't know. I don't get super excited about logos. No, I shouldn't say that. But yeah. I mean, and then
it's just like I'm like ready to put it on paper. Like, oh, like if you give me a cool company with a cool name or something like that, and I really have a good idea for how I can implement whatever, or I find like the perfect stock photo for whatever, or like you tell me about something and I already know what photo I want to use and how I'm going to lay it out, then I kind of want to just do it, and I don't want to spend the time talking to you, but I should.
Yeah, well, I know for me, I mean, well, sometimes it's, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not excitement necessarily, but I do, somebody asks me about something, I'm like, oh yeah, and I go ahead and start designing it in my head,
Hmm.
and I'll do a lot of that. I used to like, immediately go to the computer and try to design something, which I probably should have sat down and drew it first, but I used to just go to the computer. But like now, I'd start designing it in my head, like, and I'll go through, email somebody back telling them, yeah, I'm working on the design. I am, but I mean, there's nothing real. I'm just doing
Hmm.
it in my head. They don't need to know that though. But, but I mean, it's still, working on the design, and I find that saves me time because I don't have to wait for Photoshop to load or anything. I don't have to wait till I'm in front of a computer. I can be doing this while I'm driving or anything else. I can be putting it together in my head.
Hmm.
And so, I think that's like a useful skill people could learn how. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it comes naturally to me, like as a creative person, and then I live in my brain all the time. I overthink everything, so I decided to like, because I overthink things. Let me overthink things that you know matter. you know,
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can be sitting here, thinking of scenarios of how things can go terribly, or I can sit there and try to design something in my head. So it's like I try to find little projects for my brain to do, so I don't just sit around worrying about stuff. So, but
That's a
what do
good
you?
way, I would say, to save time. What was your
Yeah,
question?
no, I was gonna say. I mean, what do you think about distractions? Like as far as like family or life? You know, how do you manage time around that?
Well, so for those that don't know, I have two daughters that are twins. Um,
Dual
so
action.
then I have, family, wife, all that other stuff. So, um, in terms of that, I think it's definitely easier to deal with time management and stuff like that without kids, obviously. When you just have like your significant other or whoever they are, then it's easier to manage time because you kind of have they're adults, so they kind of have some expectations, and a little easier. It should be a little easier to communicate with them and help them understand, like, look, I'm busy during these times. This is when I prefer to work or whatever. So it's not that difficult there, but you still have to be able to make time to maintain your relationships because if you don't, there's problems.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's, you should figure that out. No matter what kind of job you have to figure that part out. So I ain't got no no suggestions there. But in terms of
Yeah.
kids, I'll say like before my kids were born, uh, I typically, especially like while my wife was pregnant, she was going to bed earlier. So like 8, 7, something, like she was going to be laying down because carrying twins and she didn't want to walk around or whatever. So I was used to spending a lot of time working in the evenings without interruptions, like from 8 till maybe 11 or whenever I went to sleep. And plus, I was also at that time I was also doing my master's degree, so I was, yeah, like I had lots of homework and other things I had to do, and then kids come along and they ruined everything. Not seriously, but they introduce a lot of interruptions because you're trying to design something or whatever you're trying to do, and then you gotta go change a diaper, go warm up a bottle, go feed a baby, whatever. That's when they were little, but even as they get older, then they're like, Daddy, come play with me. Can you tie my shoe? Can you teach me how to ride a bike? Like whatever they want to do, they're gonna interrupt you because as they get older, they kind of learn to understand like daddy has to get some stuff done or whatever. But when they're little, they don't. And so,
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense to them.
no, they're going to just cry, and then you're not going to be effective because they're going to be yelling and screaming and crying in the background because their diaper's dirty, and you can't just ignore that. So, I want to say when they were little, my strategy was to work later in the evening, like when they had gone to bed, and especially like when they're small, they're waking up at night and stuff like that. So a lot of times I would just stay up because I knew they were going to be waking up. So when they were asleep, I would try and get some work done. When they woke up, I'd take care of them, give them a bottle, whatever. As they got older, what I had to start doing was kind of planning my tasks based on the amount of time I had. Because, they
Yeah.
take naps or whatever. Or like I could distract them and get them to play together quietly for maybe 15 minutes at a time. Or go watch
Yeah.
this video for 30 minutes or whatever. So based on that, I would have to plan out my tasks. And it would be like, okay, I've got 30 minutes. What can I do in 30 minutes? Well, it's going to take me more than 30 minutes to, redesign, like make a custom theme for this WordPress site. So in the next 30 minutes, I'll whip up this logo for somebody. I'll do this flyer for somebody or something like that. So I had to basically decide what I could do in the time I had, because if a lot of times I would start on something and then I would not be able to finish for a while, and that interruption and breaking my thought cycle would mess me up. So I basically had to focus on what I could do in the time I had. And not in it kind of forced, that's kind of where I started doing the whole design cliche thing, because I couldn't wait until I felt creative to do it.
Yeah.
I had to do
You
it.
just had to knock it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did it go for
No,
you?
I know. Well, I mean, because I have a son. I mean, he's 11 now, so I had him like mad years ago. 11 actually.
Wow, you're a whiz with
Yeah.
the math.
Yeah. Hey, I could have been a mathematician like Kate Tuesday, was that her name? Anyway, I know when before he was born, I had all these ideas of what I'd be able to do after he was born. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna work on my car. No, I'll just leave him in the seat and I'll work on it while I'm doing that. Silly stuff like that. I don't know. It didn't work out that way. I did watch Star Wars while he was while I was feeding him. I did do that, but
I don't see the connection.
there was none. I just couldn't do anything else. I was watching Star Wars while I was giving him a bottle in the morning after I got off my um what do you call it?
Third shift.
Third shift. There we go.
Well, I know for
Third
me,
shift.
there was a few times where I just couldn't get anything done. Because with twins, there were times both of them were awake and there's literally nothing I could do.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And you like to think that you could do
yeah,
something,
but
yeah,
sometimes it's
you
just
can't.
impossible.
Yeah,
There was a few times where
but
there's probably a picture of me doing it where I had my daughter in one hand and my other hand was on the mouse. I was trying to do some work.
oh no, I did that all the time. That's how you do that. But I mean, but to skip forward like a couple of years, like about 11 years actually, to now. I mean, because I work from home and I kind of pretty much make my own schedule. Time management for me now, because sometimes I have to go pick up, people from work. I have to go check on my son, do something for him concerning school or something like that, or something like that. Basically, I have to like hop up and go and take care of something in the middle of the day. And sometimes it's like at random times and stuff like that. And because everybody, knows that I work from home, sometimes, I mean, it works out where I can go and do whatever I need to, but sometimes that kind of, you have to watch that people aren't taking advantage of that. I mean, nobody, I don't feel like anybody's doing that to me specifically, but sometimes you have to watch and manage your time just so that you're able to get done what you need to do, and not just because you have this time. So honestly, for me, on days when I have to do something, because some days I go into the city and work from a coffee shop or something like that, um, just to change up the scenery. And well, sometimes on these days I'm more productive than days when I'm just at home all day, because I am giving myself a schedule. Because it's like, okay, I'm gonna go into the city, I'm gonna work from this coffee shop for a while, and then I'm gonna get this done. And I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go walk around the park or whatever else, and then I got to do this, and then I got to hop back on the train and go back out, stuff like that. And it actually gives me, it breaks up my day, and so I actually am forced to be productive in that time period I give myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, that can be a problem sometimes if you're not feeling very creative, and depending on what work you're trying to do that day. Um, but if it's not something that I'm like, oh, okay, I got to start something from scratch and something like that, then that's one of those days where I can do that. It's like, okay, I just need to do these, take care of these things, and I can just sit down and customize this website or something like that for a couple hours, and then I can go do something else. And it actually helps me break my day up because there's been days when I was just at home, I didn't have to go anywhere all day, and I actually got less done, and I got work done, but then I get less done because I got bored or just got just got you get bored sitting in the same place all day.
Yeah, I'd say the having a structure or some sort of structure to my time has helped me because
Hmm.
if I know like my kids is gonna come asking me for something at some point in time, then that forces me to say like, look, okay, let's get some stuff done now because you don't have that much time, and there's kind of a cutoff, and so it kind of forces me to stay in a structure mode and get things done when I need to get them done instead of just kind of because like you said there was definitely days when I just sat at my computer all day and I was, on VW Vortex or just browsing the internet, looking at pictures of cars or whatever. And I was at the computer all day and I did some work, but I wasn't productive most of the time because there was no
You
structure.
also did not
Yeah,
do
yeah,
some
yeah.
work.
So now I try.
Yeah.
I'm still not as good as I should be because it's getting easier as the kids get older. They're more kind of taking care of themselves to an extent, and so now I have more time when I can just kind of slack off and not do anything. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
maintain that structure and say, okay, I'm going to work for an hour and then I need to go play with my kids, rake some leaves in the backyard, and ride my bike with my kids or whatever. Because I think that's the other important part. With daughters, I got to keep them off the pole. So, and I need to. I'm not
Hey,
trying to be a deadbeat dad, or whatever. As a black man, I think that's what I'm supposed to be or something. But um,
I don't think your wife would go for it.
so I have to. It's like prioritizing. I obviously want to get some work done or whatever, but I also want to have a relationship with my family. So I can't. I got to
Presence
do
over
one and not.
presence.
I got to do both, not one. And so I
Yeah.
stay
Get
structured.
get you a man that can do both. Yeah. No, I mean that's important for me. I mean, my son, getting almost a teenager, so he's at that age where it's like, they, you know, just want to go in their room and don't want to be bothered, but I go and bother him anyway, just because.
That's what fathers do.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah. I mean, yeah, because some days I know if he's here, like some days he has a day off of school or something like that. I mean, I still got to work and like almost forget that he's here because he'll just be in his room doing whatever. And then like, oh yeah, I forgot. But yeah, I mean, you like in all things, you got to find balance. Like, you know, I think that's what's important.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to like the whole taking breaks thing we were talking about earlier. I can say definitely I've come up with some pretty good ideas while I was playing with my kids. And then with technology now, like I can have my phone with me or whatever. Like I don't like to be that guy that's always on his phone. But sometimes when I'm out with my kids and they're playing and on swing or something like that at the park, if they got Wi-Fi in the park, or even if I have service, then that gives me time where I can answer an email or two, or tweet something or
Yeah,
whatever I need to be doing. Um, so it's okay. And then also what I've done on some occasions is my kids are like, "What are you doing? I want to see. I want to see. I want to see." So I let them see and I let them help. I mean, sometimes they have terrible ideas, but I let them help. I let them be involved and see what I'm doing because like in our last episode where we were talking about how we got started, I want them to see that dad does have a day job that he goes to, but he also has other things that he does that make money and they're interesting and exciting and
yeah,
creative. And you can do that when you grow up too.
yeah. I mean, that's the same for me because I mean, I don't know. My son is used to me just working at any random time of the day on any random thing. So even though I'm not getting up and putting on a uniform and going to work, that kind of thing or whatever, it's like he knows that he sees me working all the time, and it's a lot of times on creative stuff. So you know, has it in his mind that he can. He has that. He's aware of the option.
Yeah.
I mean, he asks me what I do sometimes, and it Of course, it always depends on what time of the day it is, but um, when I tell him websites, I think he's still trying to wrap his, like, wait, you make websites? I don't know. Usually his question after that is, I was like, I tell him I make websites, and he's like the gaming websites? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, my kids, I
But
don't think they fully understand. They understand some of the design stuff because they'll see me actually do that. But the web design development stuff, I don't think they really
yeah,
understand. I want to get them into like, because they have like coding classes for kids and stuff like that. I want to get them into some of that. But uh, that's a topic for another time.
I should take one of those.
Coding class, like get my
Oh,
skills up.
no, we got to edit that out. All right. Well, to wrap it up, I guess we'd say, I mean, time management for us is still a work in progress, but you know, when we find the time, we try to work on it. I mean, as long as you find balance for family and relationships, and also um, find a way to balance your energy, manage your energy and your time, I think you'll be good. As long as you're working on it, I think you'll be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you have to balance what you well, kind of what you said. You got to balance what you have to do and what you want to do, as well as what allows you to do those things. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I want to design stuff sometimes, but I have to pay my bills. And the only thing that allows me to do both of those things is obviously, being alive and being healthy. So I got to spend time exercising and eating right and all that stuff. And I also have to spend time enjoying myself doing other things, like having relationships with people, my kids, working on my car, like other stuff that I enjoy,
Your
riding my
wife.
bicycle, working on my wife, like other things that are gonna kind of help maintain that relationship because it's all about balance, I'd say.
Things that
And
quality of life things.
yeah. Because I'm pretty sure like if you stay in it and you're doing too much of one thing or you're not balancing your life out, it doesn't turn out well. You don't want to be up here ranting like Kanye. You're doing anything crazy like that. So
You're turning into a
uh,
Scrooge.
yeah. Well, I mean, so I would say out of the stuff we talked about, prioritizing your task is probably kind of like the key to everything. And that doesn't mean just like tasks like these are the work items I need to complete, but also tasks like I need to exercise, I need to maintain my relationships, I need to take a break, I need to, take time to just do nothing and watch some movies or whatever. So I need to prioritize all that. And
And take time to work on your own project. Like
yeah,
if your job is not your, passion, like take some time to do that.
take some time to learn something new.
Yeah, that's
We
it.
didn't talk about that. That's something that's important too, is learning something. Like I learn stuff every day through, I learned like how to take care of a bird this weekend because we had a pet bird. But
It
you should
died,
also
so I'm
learn new
guessing
things.
you didn't. No, just kidding.
I learned a few
Too
things
soon.
before he
Too
died.
soon.
Yeah, it's far too soon. My daughters are still grieving, so
Yep.
we shouldn't talk about that.
Right.
But yeah, I think those are all important things. Well, of course, in a future episode, I think we should talk more about dealing with distractions. We talked a little about it today in terms of dealing with like kids and family as distractions, but I don't feel like they're necessarily always a negative distraction.
Yeah.
Because I feel like my kids are a distraction, but sometimes they're definitely a positive distraction in terms of helping me be creative and reminding me to not just sit at a computer all day.
Yeah. No, yeah, we should have to do that.
Well, thanks for joining us again this week for the IC Pixels podcast. Feel free to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Alien Muffin is our account. I haven't checked our social media stats in a while, but we still need some more people to follow us. We've been actually tweeting and Instagramming and stuff somewhat regularly, so definitely give us a follow. If you want to keep it with me, David, personally, for whatever reason, you can find me on Instagram at DK12. Anthony, do
Um,
people want to follow you?
I don't know if they want to, but I think they want to though. But it's
They just don't know it yet.
yeah, they just don't know. They don't know they want to follow me. Um, you can find me Instagram or Twitter, Ant Cave. Um, I've been I've got a lot of prints of my artwork that I'm selling over the holiday season. They're all $20, so check that out if you want to.
Do you got
Um,
any dabbing Santas?
no dab incentives. My girlfriend bought one of those sweaters though. So
I've seen people starting to try and like make clones of those this year. It's like you guys missed it. It's too late now.
no,
But
you can
we
still
do
get them from
have,
2 Chainz.
yeah. But I'm saying it's like it's played out now. But we do have some. We just added a new sweatshirt and
Oh
hoodie
yeah,
to our shop.
I
This
bought
is
one for my
Space Cadet.
son.
So definitely check out our shop on Threadless, or just go to alienmuffin.com, click on shop. We have some new apparel that's available in our shop at reduced prices for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Sell-a-thon.
And Small Business Saturday and
They're gonna have like eventually it's gonna be like a whole week, like
Woman Crush Wednesday and
Man Crush
Thursdays.
Monday, Follow Back Friday.
Something they said. But yeah, check us out. And big shout out to Chris Hardknocks for the sweet, sweet tunes that we keep forgetting to shout him out, but thank you for that.
All right, well, with that, go enjoy some time with your family. Don't let the holidays be a sad, boring time. Or instead of doing that, you can get some work done. Whatever. Just manage your time wisely.
Stop ignoring your emails and stop ignoring your
I'm not going to say anything. All right. We're out.